You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Since 96, MLS has been the youngest soccer league. From 10 teams to 30, playoffs to parity. Battered MLS bring local guests to cover games. Analysis firsthand, not Google like other lames. Stats and recaps cover the West and East. Can't forget, we're on Sean Johnson. Watch every week. DPs for the elite. 10 Gam gets you the vets. Playoff trees as American as it gets. It's time to turn off the world, grab a drink and let's go. We're Battered MLS fans, so lock in on the show. Battered MLS fans, so lock in on the
No
show.
question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 103, and a happy new year, January 1st, 2026. 51 days until MLS kicks off, and we are rocking and rolling. 51 days, just over 7 weeks to go before things start to matter again. A little less than that if your team is in the first round of the GCC Champions Cup. But we wanted to get on here, and usually I'm here with my co-host, Chris. And shout out to Alyssa. Come on, I'm live 2 p.m. in Italy instead of 2 a.m. as usual. Salud, salud. Shout out to you and Happy New Year to Cam Axel. Shout out to everybody that's with us live at the moment. It is 8 in the morning, 2026 just kicked off, and we decided we are going to come on here and talk 2026 first day. We're getting rocking and rolling immediately because this will be the biggest and probably the most important season in MLS history for many reasons, and we're going to go over them. Like I said, Chris isn't here. He's out there doing his rich things, traveling the world. But I will be here breaking it down with everybody, and if you're in the chat, appreciate you joining us live. So before I get into why and everything that you need to know, because basically this is what and everything you need to know about 2026, I considered doing it just as a video, but we're so accustomed to doing things live that we decided to just do it live. And I'll do my best, and happy New Year to you. And shout out to Cam Axel. Thanks for 2025. It was a great year. Yes, absolutely. And for the channel, it was a great year. Towards the end of 2025, Chris and I started coming on here more consistently. We've kind of finally figured out our schedule, what works, what doesn't work as far as scheduling goes. And we're here to rock and roll more consistently. So if you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be coming on here 3 times a week talking all things MLS. We have guests from all over the country joining us to talk about their teams, other teams, people from Apple TV. So it's just, we have a good time here. And like I said, we talk all MLS. So make sure if you haven't already, subscribe, because look, January 1st, and we're already rocking and rolling. And shout out to, I would try to pronounce your name, but from Chicago, Mr. Duke. Appreciate you, Mr. Duke, joining me. And Happy New Year to the Battered Fans Network. Has more than just one show. We do multiple shows, and we're going to keep adding shows this year. But Tommy ATL 96, if you haven't already, make sure that you follow him. He covers Atlanta, Scarves and Spikes. Shout out to those boys. Tommy is actually our 2-time winning worst guest of the year. He does a terrible job every time he jumps on, so we love to have him on. So shout out to Tommy. Happy New Year to you. And 2026, it's going to be a very interesting season for a number of reasons. And for those of you writing in the chat, I'm going to try my best. Chris usually handles the chat. I'll try my best to put up your comments. All right, so we start off in 51 days. February 21st, 2026. Decision day isn't until November 7th, 2026. Now, one of the reasons that this is such a big year is because it's a year of transition. This is going to be the last year that we start our season in February and end it in December. Now, the regular season ends in November 7th. After this year, for those of you that were not aware, I'm sure most people, if you're watching this, you probably were aware, but if you were not aware, after this season, the season will end. Then we're going to have a short off season, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling right again. I believe it's in either late January or February, and it's going to be a 17-game season that goes from either January or February. I think it's February all the way to May. It's going to be a sprint season, and then we'll have another off season, and then we'll get to our regular schedule because we are now joining the rest of the world, starting our season in late July. So that's going to be interesting. And this is the last, for those of you OGs MLS fans, this is going to be that last season that we are accustomed to, where we go from February to December. And I mean, I welcome the change, because this offseason, I've said it on here a few times, don't expect any big names coming to the MLS during this offseason, because I hear like Lewandowski, Giovanni Lo Celso. Like I hear about names coming over, but if you haven't noticed, Messi came over during the summer, Son over the summer, Mueller over the summer. Now I understand that the MLS is little by little becoming more attractive of a destination, but it's still not there where somebody would come during the winter time, especially with the World Cup on the way, because even though I think that the MLS is getting a little more respect worldwide, maybe not a lot more, but a little more, people want to see players and call up players to their national team to play in the World Cup that are playing in Europe. So there's zero chance that if a player is on that borderline of, oh, I really want to make the national team, let me go to the MLS. That's not going to get you over the hump. That's not going to get you on the national team, unfortunately. And we have to be very transparent about that. I mean, as much as I love this league, I know that if a player wants to make it into their national team for the World Cup, this isn't the place for them to go. So this is going to be a big year, and I really do believe that the World Cup will bring new players here, because players are going to come. They've heard about the MLS and they might have vacationed here once or twice before, but they're going to see the facilities. They're going to spend a month here in the United States training. And I have a feeling that that's going to help sway a lot of the names that were like, man, MLS sounds interesting. When they come here, they're going to spend time in the training facilities. They're going to see the crowds. They're going to see the atmospheres. They're going to see the stadiums. I have a feeling that this summer could be a summer where we finally get some bigger names than we're used to, maybe some younger legs, because we're accustomed to the players coming in their mid to late 30s, maybe a little younger. It's getting a little younger now. We got Son, we got Rodrigo De Paul, but we might get some more younger legs during this summer because of the World Cup. And all eyes are on the United States, Canada, and Mexico during this World Cup. And I think it's going to be huge for the MLS. With that said, now another reason is that the World Cup is here and we are taking a break. Now, that break goes from, let me just double check before I say anything wrong. The break for the World Cup, I believe, is from June 11th to July 19th. So that's when the World Cup starts. So I believe we're going to stop playing at the end of May. The last game that I believe an MLS team will play will be if a team makes it to the Champions Cup final, which I believe is June 2nd, I want to say. So the World Cup will be here. So the soccer in this country is going to be rocking and rolling with the MLS from February all the way to the end of May. And then it doesn't stop, because then the World Cup takes over and, you know, all eyes will be on the World Cup. So it's a big season, not just for us domestically, but because the eyes of the world will be on this country, and also Canada and Mexico, but on this country for the final and the big games. And I think that that's going to help not just bring awareness of the country, because it has grown as a soccer country, even though I know the ticket controversy, we can get into that, overpricing of tickets. That's crazy. But I do think that this is going to bring big change, big money, and big time players coming. But we are breaking for their summer from July 11th to July 19th. Then the MLS will kick off again. Now, one thing after the MLS comes back, I'm going to tell you two things that surprise me that you need to get ready for. One is that we are still going to have an All-Star game. It's going to be on July 29th. So the World Cup ends on the 19th. We're going to have 10 days later a All-Star game. Now, it's interesting to me, because if we're trying to go ahead and shout out to Jose, yes, that's it. Battered MLS fans in the morning. Yes, absolutely. January 1st, we're rocking and rolling. If you haven't already subscribed, we're going to be doing this all year long. It's surprising, because if you're trying to attract big names, the All-Star game is still such a gimmick. And I still think that the rest of the world looks down upon the All-Star game, and they think it's such a weird thing. So much so that Messi has missed both. He got suspended for not attending the last one. Like, I'm very interested how this plays out, because I honestly thought that because of the World Cup that they might do away with the All-Star game for 1 year. But it will be in Charlotte. It will be on a Wednesday, I believe, July 29, 2026. And I'm interested to see if they suspend Messi again, because Messi's not going to participate in that again. He's not. Messi, I am almost 100% sure that unless that game is played in Miami Freedom Park in 2027, I'm almost sure that he won't participate. Maybe if it's played in Miami, but he's not going to participate. And I mean, Thomas Mueller looks like he's a fun guy. Maybe he'll participate. Son also, but Messi won't. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens as far as that goes, because I really do think that the All-Star game and that gimmick is something that big time players from across the world. I, I mean, maybe Thomas Mueller and Son will change that narrative, and maybe they will play. But I think that that's something that kind of deters players when they look at the gimmicky MLS. But we'll see. But that is still taking place, which is a surprise to me because I really thought that they were going to do it away with the All-Star game. And another thing that was up in the air and we weren't sure if it was going to happen, the Cafetera is back. The League's Cup is going to play. It's being played from August 4th to September 6th. So, and it won't be, it's going to be throughout, obviously, because they're taking a month off for the World Cup. It will be played during weekday games like it was last year. So there will not be a break in the regular season. But I really thought that with the congested schedule already, that they would kind of ease up with the Leagues Cup for a year. But nope, they're going to rock and roll. Leagues Cup is still happening. It will take the top 9 teams. Oh, and Joe Rocco saying Messi will be injured for the All-Star game. Yeah. I mean, after the World Cup, I'm sure he'll say that he was touched up, because I think that was the mistake, right? That he didn't fake an injury, which now he knows better. He's going to say that he's either sore or has a tender back. So for the Leagues Cup, the top 9 teams in the East and the top 9 teams in the West will participate against 18 teams in Liga MX. And for those of you that were not aware, I'll just name off the teams that are participating in Leagues Cup. You have Austin FC, Charlotte FC, Chicago Fire, Cincinnati, Columbus, Dallas, Inter Miami, LAFC, Minnesota United, Nashville, NYCFC, Orlando City, Philadelphia, Portland Timbers, Real Salt Lake, San Diego FC, the Seattle Sounders, which are the defending champs, and Vancouver Whitecaps. So those are your Leagues Cup participants. Now, obviously, not all those teams I named, because those are just the top 18 teams, top 9 in the East, top 9 in the West. Now, what happens to the rest of the teams? Well, the rest of the teams will be participating in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, which is the oldest trophy in this country. I believe this is the 111th season the 111th edition of the U.S. Open Cup. The first team that ever won it, Brooklyn FC. I just want to put that out there. Shout out to Brooklyn FC. But it will be played, and then the teams that didn't participate in the Leagues Cup will participate in the U.S. Open Cup, and those teams are Atlanta, Austin FC. I feel like I called out Austin for Atlanta, Austin FC, Charlotte, Chicago. Oh, no, look, what am I talking about? These teams are participating in this also. Charlotte, Chicago, Colorado Rapids, Columbus, DC United, Houston Dynamo, Minnesota United, New England, NYCFC, Orlando City, the Red Bulls, San Jose, St. Louis, and Sporting KC. Now, I thought that the 12 teams that didn't participate in Leagues Cup were the ones that were chosen for the Open Cup, but I am wrong, because some of these teams are in both. But I guess those teams are in the Champions Cup. So those are the teams playing in the U.S. Open Cup. Now, the U.S. Open Cup, I believe, will be played between I lost it. And the Open Cup will be played between no, it doesn't tell me when it starts, but it ends October 21st, 2026. Obviously, that is the oldest tournament here in the country. It has old amateur and pro teams. So and there's this weird thing going around. I mean, I guess I'm at fault, but people think that I hate the Open Cup. I do not hate the Open Cup. I started to dislike the Open Cup when everybody kept trashing the Leagues Cup. Now, I understand. I love that there's a trophy that has some history, because as a country, we do not have much history in this sport, obviously, at least not rich history. So this is the last, like with other countries, England, Spain, Germany, they have so much history and tradition. It's nice that we have something that's over 100 years old, because this league is only 30 years old. Like, we don't have much to hang our hat on as far as history goes. So it's nice to have something. I get it. And I like it and I appreciate it. But I like the Leagues Cup also. If the Leagues Cup was 100 years old also, I think people might look at the Leagues Cup a little differently, because I think that it's cool that we play against another professional league and all the games are between pros and pros to get to the quarterfinal or the semifinal of the Leagues Cup. Although I understand all the games at the moment are played in the United States, but the quality of opponent, I think it's harder than when you're beating Birmingham, Alabama on the way to the semifinals of the Open Cup. No disrespect to Birmingham, Alabama, but so that is why I prefer the Leagues Cup. But I don't dislike the Open Cup. I like the Open Cup. I think it's cool to win that trophy because it's something that's been around for such a long time. And Cam Max was asking, I'm not sure about the Leagues Cup, but I am confident that we're going to win. Okay. And Cam Maxwell, Inter Miami fan, saying that he believes he's going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I guess I'll take that moment to go over the Champions Cup. Now, the Champions Cup, another reason that it's great that they're finally changing the calendar is because this season coming up will be the last season. Oh, no, actually, the next year will be the same, I guess, 2027. But if you are playing in the first round of the Champions Cup this year, you're playing during your preseason. So there's two teams that at the moment have a bye to make it straight to the second round, which is played in March, which would be Inter Miami and the Seattle Sounders. If you are not the Seattle Sounders or Inter Miami that are already in the round of 16, you have 7 teams in the MLS that are participating that have to play their first Champions Cup game before they play their first regular season game, which is a huge disadvantage because you're playing against teams like that. I know Liga MX has already started their season. Now, I don't know about the Canadian League because I know Nashville plays against Ottawa. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I have any idea when Ottawa plays their first games or when their season starts. But as far as teams playing against the Mexican teams, that is a huge disadvantage and has proved to always be a disadvantage for us throughout the years. So this will be the second to last time we have to deal with something like this. And the teams participating that will start before the regular season starts, Cincinnati, which is a shame because, Cincinnati, LAFC, the Galaxy, Nashville, Philadelphia is the team I was going to say it's a shame because they won the Supporter Shield. I feel like they should also be into the round of 16. But so again, Cincinnati, LAFC, Galaxy, Nashville, Union, San Diego, the Sounders and the Whitecaps and Inter Miami, and Seattle and Miami are the two teams that are into the second round already. So they'll be playing a normal start, kind of. They'll play like one regular season game, maybe two, before they get into the Champions Cup. So it's always been a disadvantage. That's another positive to why the change of calendar will be. And when will the 2026 season end? I am actually going to get into that. Now, if you're talking about just the regular season will end on November 7th. That's going to be decision day. And shout out to Summer Sunshine. Good morning and Happy New Year's, Danny. Hoping Inter Miami will have. Oh, yes. Shout out to you. For those that don't know, I live in Miami, so I do support Inter Miami. Kun Lee, Leagues Cup could get better and more prestigious than CCC in the future. I agree. I think with time, right? And you can't erase the history. The U.S. Open Cup had a 100-year head start. So I get it. And you romanticize the fact that it has amateur teams, so anybody can participate in this country, which I think is very cool. But again, my dislike for the Open Cup, and dislike might be a strong word, but it's when everybody started poo-pooing on the Leagues Cup. I think the Leagues Cup playing against another league and all pro teams all the time, to me, I think is better and more. I don't know if the word is prestigious, but I think saying that you beat the other teams and made it to the Leagues Cup semifinal, final, whatever it may, win it all, I think is more important. And Alessio, I'm sorry, I said Alyssa. Alessio, the calendar change helps MLS and CCC for sure. It's too much at the start of the season. How it is now, MLS teams are clearly at a disadvantage. I agree. And in reverse, when we play in the Leagues Cup, I think the same thing happens to Mexico because we are now in mid-season form, and on top of that, playing in the United States. And then the Mexican teams, I think, are just starting off their season. I think there might be like a game in or two in before they start playing Leagues Cup games, and we've seen what a disadvantage that is for them. So it works double-fold. So I think it's going to help both tournaments out. But I do like, when we talk about the change of schedule, that when the Champions Cup is played, not this year, but in the future, that is going to be the last game of the season. Because I really dislike that Champions Cup is the biggest trophy. That's like the Champions League in Europe, the UEFA Champions League. That is the biggest trophy you can win. Hands down. There's no doubt about it. But you go ahead, let's say you win that on June 2nd. You win the Champions Cup, and then a day or two later, you're playing another game like on a Wednesday against Seattle. It's like that takes away from it. If you win a trophy that big, that should be the punctuation. That should be the exclamation point on the season. That should be the last image you have of your team until the season kicks off the next year. But no, your regular season just keeps going, and I think that really sucks. So I really enjoy the fact that when they change the calendar, the year will end with the Champions Cup game. I think it gives a little more prestige to the Champions Cup game also. Some people forget that it's even happening, but I think it'll have a much bigger lead up when it's the final game of the year for the MLS, Liga MX, and everybody involved. So one more thing that I wanted to get to, and if you guys have any questions about the league, because I'm trying to just touch on the major points of 2026, because 2026 is going to be huge. I mean, last year we had Messi, Mueller, and Son are the biggest three names in the league at the moment. And I think that this is just going to be like, I think season 30 is like a cap. Like that ended the first 30 years of the MLS. And I think we're about to start moving forward in like a crazy exponential growth with the World Cup this year, with bigger names coming. People know that there are big names here, obviously a little past their prime, but this league is starting to really pick it up, and I'm really excited for where we're going. But I wanted to end it with this, unless anybody in the chat has anything else that I haven't touched on. Somebody asked, let me go back because I don't want to forget who it was. Face Kami asked, when will the 2026 season end? Now, it's interesting you say that, because I was wondering the same thing. Because the season ends on November 7th, which means that the playoffs can't start the following week, because the following week is going to be a international break. The international break for the year 2026, and very commonly there's always an international break in November, it will be November 8th. So that's when the international break begins. Now, if you look here, it says November 7th is the decision day. So the international break starts the very next day. It goes until November 16th. So we're not going to have that break in the playoffs, right? You play that first round of games, which happened this year, right? You played the first round, and then you had this 2-week break. And if you won your game, your series in the first 2 games, you had 3 weeks break. It was ridiculous. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's dumber than that weird start at the midpoint or the midfield in soccer, and then had like the penalty kicks. It was like a weird shootout thing. Like, this is the dumbest thing that the MLS has done, is having a 3-game series. That alone is stupid. But then adding to the fact that then you have a 2-week break after that, it's so dumb. So I'm glad that it looks like that won't be happening. What's going to happen is that you finish your regular season, and you will have that 2-week break before the playoffs start, which is fair. I'd rather that than just stopping the momentum. And will they change the playoff format to home and away? So that's what I'm going to get into. I haven't heard anything. If anybody else has, in the chat or later on, if you're watching this after the fact, make sure that you comment below. Oh, and don't let me forget, we're on here January 1st. We're going to be coming on here 3 times a week. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I promise you, there will be nobody putting out more MLS content. Well, you know what? I take that back, because MLS Moves doesn't sleep. He might put out more. But outside of MLS Moves, nobody will put out more MLS content than us. So make sure that you like and subscribe. Back to what I was saying. I don't know if they're going to change the format, but I'm going to put up a graphic here. I think they have to. And let me show you why. So this is the graphic. November 2026, December 2026. Now, you'll see to my left, November 7th is decision day. Let's say the playoffs begin November 21st, right? The international break ends on November 16th. They have those couple days to get back, and they start November 21st. If they continue with that silly first round 3 legs, the first leg would be on November 21st, the second November 28th, and it's the whole weekend, right? But I'm just narrowing it down to Saturdays, just to be quick. So November 21st, November 28th, and then the third game would be the weekend of December 5th. which is usually when we play the MLS Cup final. Then you would move on to the second round or the quarterfinals on the 12th. Then you would have your conference finals on the 19th. And then the MLS Cup final would be on December 26th, which would be Christmas basically weekend. Hanukkah's over. It might land on Kwanzaa. I'm not sure when Kwanzaa is, but it would land almost at the end of the year, literally the calendar year, where everybody talks about the weather and how you can't play deep into December. And this would put them at December 26th. Now, I don't know how good Minnesota is going to be this year. They've lost a few players. New England's taking a step up. Chicago might be good. You're going to have some really cold weather teams that are pretty good. Vancouver, even though they play indoor. Seattle. Are they going to take the chance and have the MLS Cup run all the way to December 26th? I highly doubt that. I really do not believe that this league will be dumb enough to do this. So just taking this into consideration, shout out to Conley. I appreciate that. And then Soccer HD, first time joining the live MLS pod. Oh, I appreciate that, Soccer HD. Hopefully you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And everybody, shout out to everybody that's up on January 1st joining us. It's really awesome. And if you are an MLS fan, I hope you're ready because 2026 is going to be a big year. But back to this. So when I look at this, this tells me it's impossible for them to do that stupid 3-game series. I think that we are done with that for good. I really do. Now, if they do 2 legs, a home and away, which to me, I guess I don't mind that. I will tell you why. For me, I just rather a 1-game knockout. Boom, every week. Bam, 1 game, boom. Let's finish it quick. But I do like and appreciate that if your team played well enough to make it to the playoffs, that they give you at least 1 playoff game. I do like that. I think that's cool. And that's what you get with this when you do the home and away. Now, the 3-game series is just a money grab. Like that 3rd game is stupid. You don't need that. You can do home and away, and you can give everybody a home game. I think it's cool that if you are a hardcore fan, you attended most of the games, if not all the games, your team made it to the playoffs, and they're like, you know what? Boom, here, you get a home playoff game. I think that's great. I like that. I like that they do that, and I hope that when the schedule changes, that they go ahead and they keep that going. But for this season, I think that the 3-game series is impossible because you can't go all the way to December 26th. The 2-game is more possible, but that would put you at December 19th. What I think would, could, and should happen is that they just do 1 game for the first round, 1 game for the second round, 1 game for the conference final, and 1 game for the MLS Cup final. 4 weeks. Have it end December 12th. You're having it end just 1 week later than what it usually would end. This year, it ended on December 6th. I think that would be the perfect scenario where you would just end on December 12th and then just call it a day. Like I don't know what everybody else is thinking, but I think that is the best way to do it. Because you can't go all the way to December 26th because that would as far as the weather and then just everybody out on holiday breaks and whatnot. And I understand, right? Everybody's going to bring up college football and how everybody still attends the games. I get it. But I think that you want to avoid the holiday season. You want to go ahead and avoid the bad weather. And the fact that the next season is starting, the beginning of February, I think it is, just have that sprint season. I think you need a decent off season. So I don't know any of the information, but I would assume that we are now officially done with that 3-game first round, and maybe they'll do a 2-game and have the season end on December 19th. My money is on we're going to go ahead and just have 1 game, unless, which is also possible, which I hope it doesn't happen, but it's also possible that they just go and play weekday games, right? They could still technically do the 3-game first round and then just play on November 21st, November 25th, the day before Thanksgiving, and then finish it off on November 29th. But I think that would be really pushing the envelope with crucial playoff games, because these games are important, and then you're fatiguing the players in the most important time of the year. So although that's a possibility, I don't see that happening. I think we're going to end up with one game in eliminations all the way throughout. And hopefully that's the way we see. And if when we change the calendar, shout out to Soccer HD, when we change the calendar, if they want to go ahead and do a home and away for the first round, I am 100% on board with that, because I love that is taking into consideration the fans. Some people might think of it as a money grab. I think it in the aspect of, if your team makes the playoffs, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a playoff game. There's nothing like it, because it's high intensity. The vibes at the stadium are high. It's just different. So I definitely would love that. When will the 2027 new calendar start? I don't know if they have an exact date. Let me see if I can find out real quick. While I hear, I usually have Chris filibustering when I'm looking things up. But let's see. No, it just says from February to May 27th, so we don't know yet. So, but it will be from February to May February to May 2027, and then we will start in mid-July for the following season, which is when we finally change the calendar. And again, that change of calendar is going to be huge, because now you can get big name players to start your season instead of just could you imagine what LAFC would have looked like if they would have had Son for a full season? Because they were cooking the little bit that he was there. And then yes, Soccer HD, from February to May, not 2027, not the actual date 27, February 2027 to May 2027. So could you imagine that year that Messi showed up, that he won the League's Cup? Could you imagine who would have been here for a full year? Like, that's going to change a lot of things. And then a lot of people have been talking about the players that are going to be coming in, but now it's a lot easier to sell players overseas, because sometimes you sell a player and you sell them one if they have an opportunity to sell, but then you really hamstring yourself, because if you sold an important player, all of a sudden you're going into the last part of the year missing that important player because they wanted to move to another league when their year is starting. So a lot of reasons to be happy about the schedule change. I think I've covered just about everything there is to cover in the 2026 season. And again, it's just going to be a season of change, a transition, a lot of things changing, and in a positive way. The calendar last year, for those OGs that really love this calendar, if you are in Minnesota, Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, and you want to enjoy some cool summer games, oh wait, the World Cup kind of ruined that for you. Yeah, okay. No, that last year was your last chance, because the World Cup kind of ruined that for you. Because this year, technically, weather-wise, with the break, it's going to be kind of like what we're going to see in the future anyway, because they're not playing the games in the summertime. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I really pooped the bed on that one. I didn't realize it until just now. No, you missed your chance at enjoying some summer games. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives, and I'm sure that's the conversation that we're going to have further in the future, especially with our Minnesota. Shout out to the Loons, the Lunacy podcast, when they come on, and we'll ask them and all that other stuff, because it's going to be interesting, and all good things. So get ready. This is the biggest and the most important season in MLS history, and make sure that you rock in with us. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, because we are going to be on here, like I said, 3 times a week. We have guests all the time, and then we have a chat that's very interactive and fun. We usually don't do morning shows, so this is something that's an aberration. But I wanted to get rocking and rolling January 1st, early in the morning, just to let you guys know we mean it. We're going to be on here all the time, and we want to grow just the way the league is growing. And shout out to Soccer HD. Yeah, in my opinion, best season to win trophies. February, May 27th. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting season. That's going to be interesting. I don't know. I mean, does the U.S. Open Cup in that aspect will kind of run through 2 seasons, because it'll start, the U.S. Open Cup will start at the beginning of that season, and then it'll end on the following season. So that's going to be interesting. But again, a lot to talk about, a lot to get into, a lot of transfer news. I'm hearing more and more louder rumors about James Rodriguez coming to Columbus. That would be surprising to me, because like I said, I didn't think that any big name would come over during this offseason, but James is one of those few players that no matter where he plays, Colombia will still call him up. So I think that he's going to be good. There's a few players, right, that no matter where they are, they'll get called up. Even if they're playing in their backyard, the national team will still call them up. Like, hey, come on, we know what you can do for us. So, and shout out to Perosa. Happy New Year from Seattle. Shout out to you. I have to go to Seattle. I've heard, every time I see pictures of Seattle and hear people talk about Seattle, I'm like, man, I got to go there because it looks like such a nice place. But anyway, Leagues Cup champs. Shout out to Seattle, the Pittsburgh Steelers of the MLS, because I'm not sure what their roster is going to look like this year. And I promise you, they're still going to make it to like the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Like they just managed to always figure it out. That is one of the best franchises in the MLS, hands down, just because they just always compete no matter what. Even when you doubt them, they'll be there. All right. And then one more thing. Oh, no, you know what? I'm not even going to get inside because then I'll end up staying here for another 10, 15 minutes. So again, everything you need to know about 2026. I hope I broke it down in an effective manner. Usually I have Chris to bounce off of, but I just did it. But we'll be back next week. I hope everybody has a great first day of the new year. I hope you have a great first weekend of the new year, and get ready. 2026 MLS is going to kick butt. It's going to kick butt. It's going to be a fun year for us. For those of you in the chat, appreciate you guys. As always, you guys are the best part of the show. Jose, Happy New Year's from the best city in the world. Hey, you know what? I shout out to Cam Maxwell also. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, T Fabs. New York, everybody says the best city in the world, and I'm from New York. I love it. But man, Miami is such a great place also. If you guys haven't been to Miami, you make sure you come. Like right now, you should see people outside of Miami. They're rocking like scarves and their Ugg boots and these big bubble jackets because it's like 48 degrees outside. So it's paradise down here. So if you haven't already, make sure that you check it out. And thank you, Soccer HD. Appreciate the kind words. And Cam Maxwell, can you believe that Inter Miami are MLS Cup champions? Yes. Oh, and something I can. And one more other thing that I forgot to mention. Apple TV got rid of their second paywall, which is kind of silly. But if you have Apple TV, period, you no longer have to get Apple TV and then subscribe to the MLS. Now, if you have Apple TV, you could just watch your games overall, which I think is a big positive, because asking people to pay for two services is ludicrous. So I do think that it's going to be a good. I wish they would get rid of the paywall, period. But I do love the fact that so many people around the world have access to it. Because if it was on Fox, if it was on CBS, it wouldn't be as accessible worldwide. So I understand the positives and the negatives to the Apple deal. But I do like that they got rid of that second paywall. And I could keep talking forever, but I'm gonna end it here. If you're listening on audio, appreciate you listening to the end. Please leave us 5 stars and a comment if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Like I said, this is a show. We come on here 3 times a week. We talk about the week before. We usually have a guest, sometimes a roundtable discussion with guests from across the league to talk about the league. If something big happens with a certain team, we bring on a podcaster from that team to tell us the more specifics, because we don't want to act like we know it all. So we get people that do know it all and bring them on here. And then we talk about the week that's coming up. So make sure that you join us for that. Again, 2026 is going to be a big year. And with that, I am out. So until the next one, have a good one.